Welcome to the Broker Room. My name is Boban Jurusik, and with me today I have Barry Saoud, General Manager of Mortgages and Commercial Lending at Pepper Money, Australia and New Zealand. Welcome, Barry.
Thanks, Boban. Great to be here.
Mate, love having you here. You and I go way back, mate. Go back 15 years, right? So when I was at GE Money looking after transactional banking, you were our General Counsel. Mate, I'm so humbled to have you here, mate. And I've been a great advocate of yourself and your career. And, mate, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks very much for the opportunity. It was great to work with you back then, 15 years ago. Who would have thought when I was back in my legal career? But yeah, fantastic, and really great to see you going onwards and upwards in your career.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Now, tell me a little bit about your background. Where have you come from? What have you done? You've done a number of roles, like you said, legal, but you've also done some operational roles at Aussie. Mate, talk me through a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so my background is... It's quite varied. I did a business law degree, so I started off as a lawyer for the first sort of 15 years of my career and worked in a private practice law firm, but you never want to do that, sort of working 15 hours a day, but transitioned quickly, always worked in financial services and banking and finance law, and then sort of after that 15 years transitioned into sort of in-house roles working with HSBC and Aussie Home Loans. But over the last 10 years, it's been more specialised into that sort of mortgages and commercial portfolio management strategy. So all around sort of managing sort of home loans and commercial lending. Yeah,
wow. Now, given your diverse background, right? Obviously legal, operations, now distribution. Talk to me about the changing lending environment in Australia today, and what's the outlook for 2023 look like in your eyes?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough environment. Sort of where we're coming from, it's we've had 9 successive RBA official cash rate changes with another couple to come through. You've got affordability issues for a number of customers. You've got the fixed rate mortgage cliff. You've got housing prices are starting to come off. So from what I can see, it's going to be a tough environment out there for borrowers. So as a consequence, I think what we are definitely viewing is that serviceability is going to be an issue, valuations is going to be an issue. So a broker's job over the next 12 months, it's going to be difficult. It's trying to understand the borrower requirements, objectives, what they're currently doing, but also where they want to go. And what we're forecasting is, in particular at Pepper Money, is how can we support more and more brokers as well as their customers.
Mate, I love that. Now, that dovetails directly into my next question. Tell me the value of non-banks in this current environment. What is the value to a broker today from a non-bank point of view?
Yeah, so the non-bank industry in particular at this current climate, I think it's ripe for taking advantage of the current environment, because what we do know is that real life borrowers are finding it very difficult in the current environment, and they're coming off these very low and cheap fixed rates. But with these affordability issues, and the way in which they earn their income, what we are noticing we are seeing a change in the borrower demographics. So historically, people would just be a full-time PAYG. And as part of, I think, coming out of COVID and the Great Resignation, what we are seeing is we are seeing a lot more sort of self-employed customers, a lot more casual income, shift income. So as a consequence, borrowers need diversity. And I don't think no longer is the broker program to offer the lowest interest rate with a major. It's more understanding those customer requirements and those objectives of the borrower. And I think that non-bank just really suits and really provides that niche offering where you're a self-employed, you might be a commercial investor, you might be an SMSF type of customer. It's having that variety of products, and that's what I think the big bank, I think in particular the non-banks do, where they're able to adapt to change quicker, and they're able to sort of innovate into product and policy. And I think now's the right time for that with the change in borrower demographics.
Wow. So if I can sum that up for our viewers, right, and our listeners, from a client point of view, clients want choice, and that's what a non-bank provides. But from a broker point of view, we're talking about diversification, we're talking about spreading the risk, et cetera, right? Because they're now utilizing other products outside of the majors. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what non-bankers always traditionally provide, that competitive edge to the majors. It's always that alternative where historically a bank may say no, and in particular traditional forms of income, where the non-banks it's all about diversification. It's providing that alternative, but also trying to maintain particular type of broker at the front of mind. And whether that's around service levels, whether that's around process, whether that's around automation or technology, it's trying to give that broker's choice where it's not only about the lowest interest rate, but it's around providing a full composition and a full service proposition to your brokers.
Now, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was there are, Pepper's got a number of verticals, right? But mainly so when we're talking about, brokers in particular, right? You've got a retail arm, you've got a white label arm and a commercial arm. How does Pepper cater for all of this in this market, right? How does retail cater to brokers? How does white label, commercial, and how do they tap into these products?
Yeah, it's a great question because moving into historically brokers have always traditionally offered just mortgages. They specialise in mortgages and that being the sole provider in which they operate their business. What we are now seeing is in particular a growing demand for brokers to diversify their product offering. Mm-hmm. And the rationale for that is they're trying to understand their customer and provide a holistic service offering. Yep. And by doing that, they're deepening that relationship with their borrowers and their customers. And that's how Pepper's there to support the broker with that diverse product offering. So whether you want a commercial loan, whether you want a personal loan, whether you want to look into a white label product offering, Pepper's always been sort of a leader in that non-bank around process, product, service proposition. And by doing that, we've sort of tailored that up to ensure that we're offering that holistic product range to ensure that the broker is supporting their needs of their customer.
So, Matt, we've talked about diversification. We've talked about what Pepper's done to help brokers, utilize these products, provide choice, etc.
Yep.
What should brokers be looking out for when they're looking for these? If you've never written specialist lending previously, how do you identify a specialist client?
Yep.
And what should you be looking out for?
Yeah, and when it comes to specialist lending, and that's anything that fits outside of your traditional non-bank, I think it's understanding your customer. And your customer might be a self-employed customer where they might not have completed their financials or they're not up to date in tax returns. It might be a customer that has multiple debts or doesn't have a clear credit score. It might be a customer that is looking for an alternative where they're trying to maximize their serviceability. So your traditional sort of non-bank type of lender customer at the moment it's diverse. And it's anything that fits outside the traditional PAYG. So for us in particular, that non-specialist lending or that specialist lending, the key focus has been about providing a holistic offering, and it's any type of customer that fits into any of those particular types of segments. What we've been really focused on at Pepper Money in particular over the last sort of 6 months is all about how we agile enough in our product and policy development, how we responding to the change in borrower demographics, but also understanding what the broker needs and wants are. So for us, we've been continuing looking to challenge the status quo around what we are, because we want to make sure that we're offering borrowers choice, but also giving them accessibility to products. So over the last, in particular months, what we have been doing is we've been changing our fee structure, we've been changing our policy, we've been expanding into areas of which we've traditionally not played in. And the main reason to drive that is all about giving brokers and customers choice into that non-bank lending and be able to support our customers into the future.
So what I'm really, if I can, for lack of a better word, dumb it down, for what I'm really hearing is do not say no to specialist business, right? If it comes across your desk, pick it up, pick up the phone, have a talk to the BDMs at Pepper, have a talk to anyone and understand the product and help your client is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give you one of those reasons for that in particular is especially a customer that is in desperate need of support and assistance when a bank says no is a customer you'll have for life. Yeah. And that's what we are definitely seeing is that the feedback that we get from those type of specialist customers is that you helped me when no one else could. And for a broker to support that customer, and we know broker business is drummed up and sort of is off, what's fundamentally driven that is referrals. Mm-hmm. And if you can support a particular specialist customer, that's a customer that they're going to refer all their friends and family to because you helped them when no one else could. And that's what we definitely see. And that's what we here at Pepper Money is all about, is supporting those brokers and customers.
I love that. One of the things I want to do today, I want to bust a myth, right? Yep. Because I hear more often than not, specialist lending is too hard. It doesn't come across my desk. Mate, what can you say about that? It's because it's not too hard, is it? It's really not.
Definitely not. And I think in the future is what we've definitely done is how do we make it easier for both brokers and customers? We've simplified the way in which we're verifying that income. We're relying on data and technology to support the broker. Traditionally we're allowing whether it's accountant letters declaration, whether it's financial statements prepared but not submitted. So we are giving brokers and customers choice, in particular in that self-employed, but also in particular that contractor type of employment scenario. So We definitely would love to bust the myth around specialist lending is complex. We think it's just as simple as a PAYG, but we're there to support the brokers. If you're trying to dabble into that for the first time, we're there to support, and that's where you can reach out to a Pepper Money BDM, or we've got an accessible credit team, or even our scenario team. They're willing to support you and run you through as to whether those type of scenarios or whether that type of specialist lending can be done.
Mate, I love that. Now, is there anything you can share with us with regards to any policy changes, any products, anything exciting that might have already come out or is coming up, in terms of getting our brokers excited, in terms of looking into this space? If someone wants to venture into specialist lending, and what are you guys offering at the moment?
Yeah, and at Pepper Money, what we definitely want to do is how do we support the broker with that transparency and ease in which they can get into specialist lending. You touched on technology. We have that Pepper product selector. Within 2 minutes, you can answer 10 to 14 questions, and we'll give you an answer on the spot as to that indicative approval. So that is one thing in which how Pepper Money is really supporting that broker to give them transparency, but also the confidence to offer that through the Pepper product selector. So at Pepper, we've always been known for leading the market on whether it's technology, whether it's process improvements. We're sort of the front runner into e-signing and next-gen ID to really try and support that customer and broker. But over the last 3 weeks, we've come up with a raft of both commercial lending and mortgage lending, both policy and pricing changes. We want to lead the market. And with that, we've tried to make it easy for our brokers in particular to simplify and to create a lot more accessibility for our products. So if you haven't spoken to a BDM or you haven't seen the communication, reach out, because we've definitely shifted the market. And as I was talking to a broker the other day, it's a game changer for us, but also for the industry around what we're trying to do.
Speaking of game changers, Barry, I'm gonna ask you something, right? I saw the article that came out in the Advisor, right? Pepper removed clawbacks for all commercial lending. Mate, that is market leading. I've never seen that done before. Mate, talk me through it.
Yeah, mate, I'm glad to see that you're reading the Advisor. It's a great plug for them. Yeah, as part of that commercial lending no clawback, it's a raft of changes that we've done. We've looked at the commercial lending portfolio, and it all goes back to our philosophy about how do we better support the broker and our customers. So we've introduced that no clawback together with a reduction in the fees for the borrowers. We've introduced greater expansive policy. We're supporting our regional brokers through an expansion of sort of non-metro areas. So it's a raft of and a number of holistic changes that we've made to make commercial lending a lot more accessible for our brokers, but also to make it a lot more advantageous for those customers. We're really going out there trying to support the self-employed market, which we know it's going to be tough. Yep. It has been tough over the last couple of years with COVID, but it's really trying to come up to them and really support them in their commercial lending requirements.
Barry, I love what you guys are doing. You're market leading, but that is all we have time for today. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll speak to you soon.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity. And once again, great to see you again.
Thank you, Barry.